Use social media to impress people. Use it to impact people. Hello and good day everyone. We all know that the online application tools or apps can help us in socializing and connecting with the people. And let me introduce myself. I'm Alderni R. Anyasco from 11 Socorri in School of Catalonia Pequeño National High School. So let's begin. So our topic in this video is all about the principles and techniques of design using online creation tools and application. This module could help us in communicating with people and using with different kinds of platforms and web layouts design. So in this topic we have two lessons. So in the first lesson we have the online platform. And we all know that the online platform is used for intermediate information and communication that flows on the internet. And it is also described on the available on the internet. One of these people that usually visit is the website. This website is used for social media or entertainment site. And we all know that a website is a set of related resources from the web. And there are three types of online platform. First is a social media platforms. Social media platforms are platforms that allows you to create a personal account. This would allow you to connect with other users to update their newsfeed. The examples of the social media platforms are Facebook, Messenger, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and etc. Second is the blogging platforms. Blogging platforms are platforms where a writer or a group of writers can share views on an individual subject. One of the example of blogging platform is the Blogger. If you love to write or share ideas, a blogging platform is the best tool you can use. The last online platform was the CMS, or what we call the content management system. This one of the features of this platform is that you can publish your own website and manage its content. An example of the content management system is the WordPress. While discussing about the online platforms, we have 7 elements of a modern web design. First is the text. A text is a mandatory element of a web page. However, visitors got distracted about the font family of the text in this website. Second is the graphic or illustration. Make sure that the image are not pixelated. The image must be good of quality. Third is the white space. It is very hard to catch or to direct the attention of the visitor's eye if the website is too crowded. A white space gives you a room to breathe. Fourth is the link, or what we call the hyperlink. It allows the user to jump to another site or the page that is related to your site. Fifth is the color. The color used in your designs are very important aspect. There are times that the color become visually distracting to your viewers. Sixth is the video or audio. There are sites that use video or audio so that the viewers can better understand what they are selling or teaching. Lastly is the background. A background, or what we call the texture, that gives you appealing more to your website. And now we are done with the online platforms and the elements of a modern web design. To create a usable and effective website, follow the basic principles of an effective web design. First is the portable design, or what we call the website design. Must be portable and accessible. Your need must be compatible with other operating system and web browser. Second is to design for low bandwidth. This for all users who are connected in high internet speed connection. Third is the direction. This is to identify the importance of a various elements and place them into the sequence where the eye moves and perceive the things it sees. Fourth is the simplicity. The more option you place in your site, the more difficult for the visitor to make them decision and more time is required. Through them, they are usually say simplicity is the beauty. Lastly, is the regular testing. Every device or project needs maintenance. It is the same as the website. To know more about the online platforms, here are some video which you will be able to know more about the online platform.
Ang online platforms na sinasabi ko ay yung katulad ng Lazada, Shopee, Facebook Marketplace, Instagram, o yung maski pati yung personal account mo sa Facebook. So yan yung mga online platforms na mai-utilize mo para maibenta mo pa ng mas malawak yung produkto mo. Yung kadalasang sitwasyon ng gusto magsimula ng negosyo, nagsisimula kagad sila magbenta sa mga online platforms. Nagpo-post kagad sa Facebook, sa Shopee, sa Lazada, o ganun, sa Instagram, yan. Pero ang pinaniniwalaan ko, mas kailangan mong matuto ng mabilis. Kaya, magsimula ka muna magbenta in a traditional way. Yung pagbebenta ng mano-mano, muka sa muka, harapan. At yun yung mga naturo ko ng mga nakarang vlogs. Importante yon dahil mas kailangan mo ng learning tungkol sa customer mo at sa produkto mo kesa makabenta ka talaga nung binebenta mo. Ano ibig ko sabihin? Sa pagsisimula ng negosyo, yung unang parte, learning ang mas importante. Makuha mo yung totoong feedback sa customer mo at improve mo yung produktong initialing naisip mo o na i-imagine mo. Sa panahon natin ngayon at sa lugar natin sa Pilipinas, ito yung mga online platforms na options mo. Pero sasabihin ko yung pinaniniwalaan kong pinagkaiba-iba nila kasi kailangan mo lang makapili ng isa dyan at doon ka lang maging eksperto. Ito yun. Yung mga pagpipilian mo sa online platform ngayon ay Lazada, Shopee, Facebook Marketplace, Instagram at Facebook page. Kailangan mong mamili sa isa lang sa mga yan at yun yung masterin mo para sa produkto mo at kumpanya mo. Hindi naman importanteng lahat meron ka niyan. O pwedeng lahat meron pero isa lang dyan ang kailangan mong mamaster o mapagtagumpayan. Ito yung tinatawag na sales channel mo na pangmalupitan. Okay, kung isa kang legit na kumpanya, yung nakarehistro ka, sa Lazada ka mag-concentrate. Kung kumpanya kayo pero hindi kayo registered, sa Shopee ka mag-concentrate. Malinaw? Pag nakarehistro, sa Lazada. Kapag hindi nakarehistro, pero kumpanya pa rin kayo, marami kayo, isang pamilya kayo nagtatrabaho doon, Shopee. Yun yung pinagkaiba ng dalawa. Kung mag-isa ka lang naman, tamang buy and sell ka, working mom o talagang personal account mo lang, Facebook Marketplace ka naman tumira. Pangalan mo mismo yung nando doon. Kung hindi ka kumpanya, individual ka na nagnenegosyo, Facebook Marketplace ka dumali. Malinaw na kung anong pinagkaiba-iba ng tatlo na yan, kung saan ka dadali dyan. Yung Instagram naman, diyan ka dumali kapag yung mga customer mo ay mga kikay, nanay, sexy, pampaganda, pangpaarte, sa Instagram ka mag-concentrate. At yung online platform na Facebook page, lahat dapat may Facebook page. Lahat dapat magsimula sa Facebook page. Kahit anong mapiliin mo sa mga yan, kailangan may Facebook page ka, diyan ka magsimula. Test the water, isa-isa kung trip mo. Pero kung makapili ka agad ng isa kung saan ka tututok, mamili ka lang ng isa dyan at diyan ka lang mag-concentrate. Ang kadalasan nakikita kong mali, yung nagsisimula ng negosyo, lahat ginagawa. Nagla-Lazada, nagsa-Shopee, nagma-marketplace, wala namang mali doon. Pero mas pinaniniwalaan ko na kailangan mo lang manalo sa isang bagay sa mga yan. Kami sa istorya namin sa Carco, nanalo kami sa Facebook page. Nung time na paputok pa lang yung Facebook page, nakasabay kami doon. Yung wala pa ganong gumagawa ng Facebook page, nakasabay kami doon. So ngayon, currently, 300,000 likes ang meron kami sa Facebook dahil kinoncentrate talaga namin yun. Ang Instagram namin, mababa lang, mga 2,000 followers lang yata. Pero hindi na mahalaga yun. Basta nanalo kami sa isang platform, okay na yun. Panimula. Sinustain kami ng Facebook page for 3 years. Bumebenta kami ng malupit dyan. Pero nung nagdagsaan na yung mga tao sa Facebook page, lahat may page na at saka lahat halos gumagawa na ng t-shirt, doon medyo sumadsad na kami sa Facebook page. At yun na yung time para mag-explore na kami ng ibang channel. So pili ka lang ng isa dyan, kasosyo. Pag nahanap mo na kung saan ka gumagana dyan, mag-concentrate ka ng 100% sa channel na yun. Galingan mo doon. Ikaw ang maging number 1 sa channel na yun. Either sa Lazada ka, o sa Shopee ka, o sa Facebook Marketplace, o sa Instagram, o kung saan mo pa maisipan. Basta isa lang at maging number 1 ka sa platform na yun. Yung mga online platform na yan, ang cons niyan o mga positive dyan, systemized na yan. Gumagana na yan. Kailangan mo na lang hilutin yung sitwasyon mo o yung negosyo mo para gumana sa loob ng platform na yan. Pero ang negative sa mga paggamit ng online platforms ay kailangan mo sumunod sa rules ng mga platforms na yun. Sa Facebook, bawal ka mag-post ng mga branded na may copyright. Bawal na ngayon yun. Sa Shopee, hindi ko alam kung anong mga rules sa Shopee. Sa Lazada, ang rules doon, kailangan pag may discount silang 11-11 o 12-12, kailangan malaki rin yung discount mo doon sa mga product mo. So, hindi ka pwedeng makatakas sa mga rules na sineset ng mga online platform. So, yun yung negative na part. Hindi mo pagmamay-ari yung kung saan ka nagtitinda. Para mga online SM yung mga yan. Kailangan mo sumunod sa rules ng SM. Ganun. Sang katutak ang mga online tutorial kung paano gamitin yung mga platform na yan. Ang diniscuss ko lang dito sa episode 6 natin, kasosyo, ay kung anong pipiliin mo sa lahat ng mga yan. Kung makapili ka ng isa, i-search mo na lang sa YouTube kung paano mag-sign up dyan o paano ilagay yung produkto mo dyan kasi isang katutak yung tutorial. Ang sinasabi ko sa'yo, kung paano ka pipili sa mga yan. Okay, ganito ang proseso, kasosyo ha. After mong magbenta ng mano-mano, saka ka mag-utilize ng online platform. I-maximize mo yun. Kapag nalimitahan ka na sa online platform, yung hindi ka na makatiis sa mga rules nila, ito na yung time para tumalong ka na dun sa third step. Yung magkaroon ka na ng sarili mong platform o e-commerce na website o apps. At dyan ay tuturo ko sa susunod na episode, sa episode 7, yung pagkakaroon ng sariling website at pagkakaroon ng sariling e-commerce application o kahit sarili mo pang platform at sarili mo na yung rules. Malinaw ba mga kasosyo? O pili ka na dyan. Medyo lumalayo na tayo at medyo lumalalim na kasosyo ha. Kaya paseryoso at pateknikal na ng pateknikal itong mga pinag-uusapan natin. Excited ka ba lalo kasosyo? O ito ang tanong ko para sa episode na to kasosyo na kailangan mo masagot. Tatanungin kita ng ganito. O kasosyo, anong online platform ang tututukan mo? O yan. Yan lang ang tanong. Sagutin mo yan. At ilista mo yan at yan ang kasama sa execution plan mo na binubuo natin dito sa Kasosyo 30-day series.
And now, you have learned the online platforms and its effective and usable. And our next lesson 2 will be the web layouts and design. Website layout. A website layout is pattern that defines to a web structure, while the web design is a design for the website that are displayed on the internet. Here are some guidelines that you consider on your next web project. First is the website purpose. Your website needs to accommodate with the needs of the users. Having a clear and simple intention of all the pages will help you to interact users of what you have to offer. Second is the simplicity. Simplicity is the best way to go when considering a user experience and usability of the website. Third is the navigation. Navigation is where the visitors interact and find what they are looking for. Fourth is the F-shaped pattern reading. The F-based pattern is the common way of visitors to scan text on a website. Fifth is the visual hierarchy. A visual hierarchy is the arrangement of elements in order of importance. Sixth is the content. An effective web design has both great design and great content. Using compelling language can attract and influence to the visitors by converting them into customer. Seventh is the grid-based layout. A grid helps structure in your design and make your content organized. A grid helps you to align element of the page and keep it clean. 8 is a loading time. A loading time while waiting on the website in loading, the visitors might be losing. Lastly is the mobile friendly. Many people are using their phones or other devices in browsing. It is important in adjusting website in a responsive layout where your website is adjusted to a different screens. To know more about web layouts and design, here are some video which you will be able to know more about it.
Layouts is one of those things that can either make or break a design, but it's so hard to understand and learn. In this episode, I want to try and share with you the single best tip that I got around layouts, because I find out when I kind of mentor and give feedback to junior designers that a lot of times the biggest thing that can improve in their design is the actual layout of how they put information on a certain screen or page, whatever it is that they are designing. And the tip that I have for you, I think it's such a core, design fundamental skill, and it applies to whatever it is that you are designing, whether it is a poster or a website or an app, whatever. You always need to have elements on some kind of a format, and you need to decide where they're going to be positioned, what size they're going to have. Now, the reason that it's so hard to explain is that there's a lot of things that go into it. There are hierarchies, there's tension, there's contrast, there's a lot of things to consider, and a lot of times people get mixed up where they just throw things on the page and it ends up looking dull. So let me start by just giving you the tip. It'll sound so simple, and then I'll show you an example of how I use this, and then I'm going to show you some examples from real world where we're going to try to think in this framework and see that actually a lot of the designs that you see every day probably use this principle. And so the tip is this: in every design that you make sure that you have something big, something medium, and something small. Now, kind of digest that, let me show you on the screen what I mean. So here's a page, doesn't matter if it's a poster, if it's an app or whatever. So imagine I have to place some kind of content, and that might be an image, that might be, you know, text or something. So imagine that this is kind of like the position and the size of where I place this element. Now, what a lot of people do is that they would place few elements on the page kind of like this, but they are the same size. They take the same kind of visual height on the screen, and there's literally nothing goes on here. You don't know what to look at first. There's nothing that guides you here. There's no contrast. It's just like nothing. It's just three bulks of content on a page. That's nothing here. But imagine that we had something really big to grab our attention first. Then we had something with a medium size, and then there's something like super small. So something like this. Now I just randomly put it here, but notice that it's much more powerful and a much better use of the space. So you can see that your eyes goes from the biggest thing to the medium thing to this. So there is already order to how you you read this. Now it doesn't matter, you can turn this around to something like this. This would also might be an interesting layout. So this is the most basic core kind of like framework to think about when you're doing layout. Now let's see some example and see how it actually looks like in real world example. So this is from Typographic Posters, a website that I like with great examples of posters. So as you can see here, you might say that this whole thing here, the image with this huge text, is the big element. It draws your attention first. Obviously, you know, faces and eyes, we look at them first. And even it's also black, so there is a big thing here at the middle. Then there is these two dates here, or something that is kind of medium sized. You're probably going to look at this second. By the way, I didn't say that it has to be one and one. There can also be like multiple, I don't know, small things on the page. That's totally legit. So here I would say there is one big thing, two medium thing, and then small thing. You can see here there is like this concert here, and there's a little detail here, but it kind of adds to the structure and kind of like how this looks like. So here I would say there's one big thing, two medium things, and two small things, and the layout looks pretty solid. If I would randomly open up a different type of poster here, then here I would say that the big thing is actually the whole visual thing. I would say that that's like the whole thing is the big thing. The whole area with the dots is actually the big thing. I would say that this title here is actually the medium thing, and those two titles here, I would say that those are the small things. So this is how I would actually look at this. Let's take a look at a website. So this is basically a website, by the way, of an awesome agency. Here I would say that this whole title is obviously the big thing, subtitle is probably a medium thing, and then you have multiple small things, details going around, you know, on the page. I'm taking a look at this app design here. I would say that the whole visual and title and price of the helmet is probably the big thing here. The call to action buy now button is probably the medium thing, and then there's a few details, small things like those buttons here, or maybe those small buttons here, or maybe even those buttons. I would say that they're part of the big thing here. So I think that from now on, when you look at every design, you'll probably be able to find, okay, here's the main thing that they wanted me to see. Now here's a secondary thing, and those are the small things. And it's really important that there'll be contrast. They can't be like, let me show you again on my Illustrator. If the sizes are not like too different, you know, let's say that this is, you say here I have a big thing and a medium thing, but this is too close together. This and this, the difference between them is not really contrasted, so it might still be like pretty flat or without real hierarchy. So you really need to make sure that there's contrast between the big thing and then the medium thing and then the small things. So I think that for me, it really helps me when I take a look at a screen, when I analyze a design. Usually if I would say that a design looks good and powerful and impactful, it'll usually use this kind of contrast of big, medium, small. A lot of times when you're not even sure why a design doesn't work, try to think about this like this, and you might notice that it wasn't really a good layout in terms of contrast, sizing, positioning, and so forth. I think this is such a fundamental design capability, and a lot of it is sensibility that you develop because you do it a lot, and eventually you don't really think about this. But when you're just starting out, I think this framework is pretty helpful to think, did I use it? Do I have big, medium, small thing to make sure that your design looks good, powerful, and impactful? Hope this was helpful. I'll see you on the next.
To conclude, and knowing those online platforms can help you on which application tools that you want and its advantages, while the web layouts and design, you will know what is their purpose. And that's for today's video, and have a nice day, everyone. Hi, I hope you learned something about the videos on empowerment technologies. Thank you.